For the last 3 years I've been making wooden rings, and I wanted to show you guys how I do it, as well as show you the tool I came up with to do it easier on a mini lathe. Two common methods are rolling wood veneer or gluing a block of wood together to then cut the ring out of it. Don't make your ring from a single piece of wood. No matter how hard the wood is, that ring is going to break really soon. I personally only want to wear wooden rings that are thin and not bulky, but for that to work they need to be really strong. There are a bunch of tools you can use to make wooden rings, but my personal favorite is the mini-lathe. They are sold directly from China for extremely cheap. I took some wood carving tools and grinded them into chisels. But there are a bunch of methods you can use to remove material from the ring. For example, you can also just use sandpaper all the way through, which is going to take you a bit longer. If you're working with chisels, make sure they're extremely sharp at all times. If not, your ring is very likely to break on the lathe, especially if you're working with very hard wood. And I highly recommend you use hardwood to ensure a long lifetime of the ring. Something else that I've tried was ordering knife handle blanks from AliExpress, and I was quite surprised because they're extremely hard and most of the time they're quite fancy, so they make awesome rings. Here are some examples of wood. We have Purple Heart, Olive and Maple, Zebrano and Maple, and Ebony and Maple. When you glue the wood together, you should use 2-component epoxy, but it's quite the rage nowadays, so you'll find enough info on that. I start by cutting down the material for my ring from my blank. Then I mark the center and I drill a hole that's slightly smaller than the final inner diameter. After that, I use a drill with some sandpaper on a stick to get the perfect size. Removing the extra material comes next, and this already gives me a rough ring shape. So now I put the ring onto the lathe, which I would definitely clamp down because the weight of this thing is a joke. I used to have a wooden dowel which I would slide the ring onto, but getting it to be the right size was really annoying because I either had to use tape or actually cut some material away. If you only make 1 or 2 rings, I'm sure that's fine, but for me long term it was quite annoying. So I designed a 3D printable piece that eliminated those issues. The turquoise part slides in and pushes the 3 red pieces outwards, which creates a force and holds the ring into place. You have to be careful though, because the force it creates is quite strong, so if you're pushing the piece in too far, your ring might break while you turn it. Something else that annoyed me quite a lot about this mini lathe when turning rings was the tool rest, because getting it close to what you turn is not really possible with this setup. So I was always struggling turning small rings because of it. You want your tool rest to be close to what you turn, to actually do it safely and also to have a nice cut. A quick 3D print almost entirely fixed that issue for me though. A few things you might want to keep in mind when turning rings like this is, for one, the dust. Some exotic woods are really toxic, so you don't want to breathe that stuff in. Either get a mask or put a vacuum right next to your ring. At some point I had a piece of ring fly right into my eye, so you might also want to put on some safety glasses. As a last step, I always put some super glue onto the ring. I do this on the lathe because it's quick and it also polishes the ring at the same time. You could use some oil instead or some clear coat, but since glue is the strongest and it still gives you that nice look, I just don't see any downsides. Make sure you use a super glue that's quite liquid, because that will allow the wood to soak up the glue and get a lot stronger. There you go, your wooden ring is done, and I really hope this helped someone. If you have any tricks to making wooden rings, just put them in the comment section. And now go and make sure you have an awesome day.